Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Life and Sport podcast. And we're joined by one of our first, you could say, Newcastle Jets guests. We've had Mariners players on. We've had Leeds United players on. So this is our first Newcastle Jets, Adelaide, basically a bit of everywhere. Guest. His name is Ryan Griffiths. Thank you for joining us. And how's your morning going so far?
So far, so good. Had a coffee down at the beach, a little bit chilly, but it's like it's how I normally start my day, and it's pretty good. Very, very grateful for it.
Very nice. Is that Merriweather Beach?
Yeah, Bar Beach, Merriweather Beach, kind of mixed it up a bit.
Yeah, nice. There's quite a few nice cafes along that area. So yeah, that's a lovely morning and a lovely way to start it. And so let's get started with the interview. Your first semi slash professional club in particular was Northern Spirit. What was it like playing for such a, you could say, renowned club?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, we were, I guess it was the first time Northern Spirit came about, and the only place we could basically play was out west, coming from Cronulla. There was no teams locally, so a lot of trips out west to Sydney United.
Yep.
And then we got the opportunity to play in the youth team there at Northern Spirit. The setup was fantastic. The players, everything. You know, we got free lunches and things like that. It was just welcome to professional football. Yeah, it was insane because back then it wasn't real. It was professional, but it wasn't really professional, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
So yeah, we went over there and we're cleaning boots and doing all of those old school apprentice type of things for the older players. And I think it's probably something that's missing these days. It's just that little bit of respect.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like when I became older, I was like, you know, it'd be nice if just the respect, I guess, it's something that you learn and then earn. So yeah, that was really good over there at Northern Spirit, and some massive superstars like Robbie Slater, Graham Arnold, Ian Crook, the whole team basically. Sorry if I missed anyone out.
Yeah, no, it was a team stacked with superstars. It really was.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously, you moved over from Northern Spirit to Manly Warringah, which are now, you know, amalgamated into Manly United, etc. What was it like going from Northern Spirit to Manly?
It was something I had to do. I had to get some game time. I had a kind of contract for the next year, but it wasn't guaranteed. And that's obviously all of those things have changed now with the PFA and things like that, like job security. But back then there was no job security at all. So I had to drop back. Robbie Slater was coaching, and he said, "Do you want to come back and play against, you know, men?" And so I went over there and did quite well for half a season. And then he was like, Ian Crook and Gary, they were coaching up at Gary Van Egmond, coaching up at Newcastle, and they said, "Oh, you've done well there. How about you come up and play for Newcastle United?" So
yeah, this is before they were the Jets, before the A League was a thing. And yeah, how was that move going from Sydney all the way to Newcastle?
Oh, it was awesome. It was probably the best thing that I could do is move away. I guess get that independence and understand the real world. In terms of paying for my own rent and all of those things. I mean, I think I learned that at Northern Spirit. However, moving away from home, I think it's something that I think you need to do as a player to understand how to be away from family and things like that. Even though it was only 2 hours,
it was still away from family.
Still away, still quite young, but yeah, definitely enjoyed the move. Had a really good team and really good coaches, obviously. So it was a good move.
Yeah, nice. And obviously, you then spend a bit of time outside of the country with, you know, Bucharesti. I'm going to probably butcher this one. Liaoning, Beijing, Yuan. Before you came back to the Jets, what was it like over in the international scene?
It was really, really good. It was an eye opener. I don't think,
as in culturally or the way they played.
Culturally, it was huge. So I was fortunate enough to play in the Athens Olympics, and I went for a few trials in Scotland. Craig Moore actually said, you know, you need to get yourself overseas, and I was obviously looking up to Craig Moore, who was playing at the Rangers, and I just said, yeah, like, what should I do? And he said, come and stay at my house, and I'll give you some trials. Yeah, and I was just like, wow. So I went back with him after the Olympics.
What was that like?
And oh, it was amazing. I got to go and see him play in a derby
At
against Celtic.
Ibrox.
Even though I'm a Celtic fan, I was
Oh,
standing with all the Rangers fans, and
yep,
I felt the breath just coming towards me
yep.
in the stadium. It was just the biggest eye opener in how passionate they are over there for their football and their club. And I really enjoyed that experience. Trained with Dundee and
Hmm.
actually got a contract.
Oh, wow.
However, I don't have a British passport,
Oh,
so
okay.
that fell through, unfortunately. I would have loved to have done that
That would have
because
been great.
I believe I would have probably gone up the ranks in Scotland.
Do you ever wonder like what could have been if you had, or you don't worry
Uh,
about that these days?
it hurts me a little bit, to be honest, because I know I had the resilience, obviously playing in Romania and China,
Yep.
but not to have that European passport was very, very tough.
Yep.
There were so many ways that we're trying to work it to be able to play there, but it wasn't to be. I know what
Unfortunately.
I was capable of, yeah.
Yep.
And I was just on the Eastern Bloc, so in Eastern Europe, we were allowed to play, and I was getting offers from Russia, even like parts of Germany,
Yep.
which I probably, in hindsight, should have done. However, I'm very fortunate for the career that I've had and the places I've got to
Oh,
experience.
absolutely. And obviously, it goes without saying that, you know, every nation's leagues play differently. I've interviewed quite a few players. Some say, England is very similar to, Australia in the sense of it's quite physical, but it is also much more technical at the same time. Australia is a much more physical league, etc. And what sort of differences was, in that sort of comparison was Romania and, China like compared to the Australian leagues?
Romania was tough.
Yeah,
So my first 6 months there, I was just on and off the bench
yeah,
and training really hard, like just trying to get into this team that was like a mid to lower team,
yeah.
National Bucharest. And the setup was fantastic. We stayed in the hotel, which was basically right on the pitches, and we had a restaurant below us where they would feed
Oh,
us.
you literally
Like
had
just
everything you needed by the sounds.
everything that you needed to be a pro. You had no excuses. Had a gym, built up a lot of size, strength, power. Like training was really good. But the coach just didn't like me. It was really weird
Oh,
that he even signed me in the first place. Yeah.
okay. Isn't
And
like it was weird that he signed you because he didn't like you, or was it more he didn't sort of like you or vibe with you once you got there?
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it's hard to say, but I think coaches have their players.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
believe that I was just the club wanted to sign me. So the president had
Gotcha.
a lot of power. Yeah. So I think he signed me. The coach didn't really want me there, trying to loan me off to other teams. And I was just like, no, I'll just go back to the A League was starting up.
Yeah.
I'll just go
Yep.
back to the A League. But then I think my dad said, no, stick it out, stick it out.
Yep.
Don't come back. It's not worth it, all of that. And I stuck it out. He got sacked. New coach came in, who used to play for Italy.
Yep.
But
Did
I
the new
got
coach vibe with you at this point?
oh, he loved me.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
straight away. This is the thing that I think if you're a young player, just be resilient, just stick
Yep.
it out. Things just change, things happen. And then yeah, he came in and basically said, "Oh, Ryan, why you don't play? I see that you play for Australia.
Yeah.
You score
He's
this
like
many goals for
he's like you've
Australia."
got the chops for national. Why are
Yeah.
you not playing here? Yeah.
And me being an arrogant young kid, I was just like, "Yeah, I know. What the
Right.
hell? Like, what's happening?" Yeah. So he played me, and my first game, we actually played against the top team, Dynamo Bucharest,
Yep.
and I scored a hat trick. And
Oh, how
then
good.
I scored a hat trick. We won the game. We got into the Romanian Cup and all that
If
stuff. And
if that's not
all over the
right,
all over the media.
I
It was
bet you
just
the
like,
former coach was eating his words.
I don't know. I
I don't
don't
know.
think. Yeah, maybe, but I don't think so. I
But
mean,
oh, I'm three
every
goals,
coach is different,
a
and
hat trick
it's
in your
just something you
first
got to deal with.
a hat trick in your first game. It's like that's basically unheard of, really, for any club that someone plays for. Like, so what was that feeling like at the end of that
I think
game?
I think I was just so hungry. Like I
Yeah.
was just so hungry, and we had three other Aussies in the team at that time,
Yep.
and I hated it. I was just like they were really good players, John
Yep.
McCain, Wayne Shroy, and Michael Thwaite. So they all
Yep.
played for Australia at some stage of their career. So we had a really good Australian kind of group there, and I was the only one that wasn't playing, and it was just killing me. So I think I was just so hungry to impress in that game, and I just remember I was diving at everything and just trying to get those goals, and got them, and then the rest kind of took off. And it wasn't long after that where but all three of the top clubs kind of just came in and just said, yeah, we'll buy Ryan. And I didn't know what was going on, because you hear these stories like transfers and things like that. But when it starts to happen to you, you're like, what the hell? Someone wants to pay €1 million for me?
Yeah, you're like, what? Pardon?
I'm not worth €1 million. Like, what the hell's that? So
yeah.
So that was really, really interesting. It was a really good experience.
Oh, absolutely. And then obviously, as you mentioned, you spoke to your dad and he was like, nah, stick it out. Don't come back to the A-League. Well, you did come back eventually, and you started up with, well, you could say you jetted back over and started with the Jets. Well, not started because you were back at the Jets, but this time they were in the A-League. What was it like going from, Beijing and Romania back to Australia?
I think I struggled with the professionalism. Okay. So coming from, Romania and then China, where in Beijing, it was very professional also. We had really good setup and the players just knew the job. And then I came back to Newcastle and I was really struggling, I think, to fit into the group because I was, I was just so well drilled. Yeah. And I know that a few of the players didn't like that. And,
as in, like, because you were making them stick to a standard that they didn't want?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get that now. Like, I look back, it took me a while to understand that. But now that I'm older, looking back, I'm like, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And a few of them I used to like rip into and say, you know how good you could be. And it was almost like they took offense to it. But I was just trying to get it.
In your head at the time, you were like, just trying to help them, but in hindsight, it's like, oh, maybe, they didn't see it as a nice way, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't change saying that either, because one of them finally did kick into gear and ended up really, really having a great career after that. Yep. I'm very happy that he did. I didn't say told you so or anything like that, but
in your head, you're thinking told you so.
Yeah, I'm not even going to mention his name.
No. But in your head, like nowadays, you're like, I told him he would be.
It was so frustrating. I was like, you are so good. Don't let other people bring you down. If you're good and you have the ability and the talent, you really, really just need to knuckle down, because it's a short period that you play for.
Yeah.
And I always feel that I always played above my level.
Yeah.
So I know that if you've got a level, generally that's when people start to be lazy, because they're like, oh, I'm so good. So they don't try as hard.
Gotcha.
But if you've got that double combination, like Kobe Bryant has.
You've got that talent and you've got that work ethic.
Yeah. So, I think that's the key there.
No, absolutely. Pardon me. And after your time at the Jets, you went to Baxi and Adelaide and quite a few other clubs. What was it like going from the Jets to Baxi and then from Baxi to Adelaide United?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I mean, as a footballer, you don't see that. You see a lot of the fans get frustrated and upset, but you don't really see what happens. There's a lot of politics, obviously, in any sport.
Yeah.
Football, unfortunately, there's just a lot of money that spins around, and, you're at a club and you're enjoying yourself. So I was enjoying myself at Newcastle. We had at that stage, Tinkler was owning the club, and he basically said to everyone, piss off. Like, I don't want to own this stupid soccer club and all of this type of stuff. And if you can find another club, and I think a few of us did.
Yep.
I really didn't want to go over to China again to Bashi. It was second division as well. It was a really, really bad.
It wasn't your level, as you were saying just before. You knew what your level was at.
It was a really bad move. I'm glad that it was only for a year.
Yep.
But then from that, I guess I got to move on to, Malaysia and experience that. And a lot of these things happen for a reason, I guess. But that was a bad move. And I think in football, like, if you can stay at a club, like I would have stayed at a club my whole
career if you could. Yeah.
Because I love Newcastle. I live here now. I'm from Cronulla, but I consider this my home. Obviously, my family's here.
Yep.
And I would have played here for forever, but yeah, they change owners, they change presidents, or whatever you want to call them, CEOs, and they either push you on, they want to make some money, and that's just all part of the game. So you have to,
Yes.
as a fan, now I'm a huge fan, and I watch the games, and I see players move around, and it frustrates me still that good players have to leave the Jets.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up this season in particular, because the Jets are unfortunately going through a bit of a rough time the last few years, mainly because of ownership and whatnot. What's your thoughts on the Jets season just gone?
I just wish that I had money, disposable money, that I could just buy the club and keep good players here and help Newcastle, because we love our football up here.
Yeah, they do.
Everyone loves it, but there's just so many things that go on behind the scenes. And I'm just really fed up with it. And
I'm very.
Everyone else is fed up with it.
I'm a Mariners fan. I'll be the first to say that. I grew up on the coast, and the Mariners went through a very similar thing a little bit ago, and we ended up getting an owner that, luckily, from the outside looking in, doesn't care about the money. They're like, look, do what needs to be done for the club. Money's not an issue, as in to an extent, sort of thing. And that's, I think, what every club could benefit from, especially the Jets.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something that needs to happen. I know a few people that have probably put their hand up before, but there's also criteria and things like that.
Of course.
There's also stadium changes. Like, I like Mac Jones Stadium. However, I think that if we got a smaller stadium that could tick a box and the A-League would allow it.
Oh, absolutely. You'd fill that every home game.
Every home game would be packed. I
reckon if you built one similar sizes, in not the same design, but similar sizes, Central Coast Stadium, you guys would fill that every week, no doubt.
Yeah, and that's why the atmosphere is great when Newcastle plays Central Coast, because we bring about 5,000-6,000,
and there's about a good 10,000 of us there as well.
Yeah, and then it's like a really good atmosphere every time that I go and watch that game. So it's just it's a lot of red tape.
Yeah.
You're talking about also one thing that I firmly believe in is promotion relegation.
Oh, I'm a big believer in that as well. And hopefully with the B League coming up, it should maybe be that buffer that can get it there in the next few years.
We need something. Because even the lower teams need support.
Yeah.
But
they also need to work for something.
Anyway. We're going to stay up anyway.
They need that fear. They need that fear.
I don't need to go. We're coming last. I don't need to support them. However, if you go to the game because you're coming dead last, you look at the Prem, you look at even like watching that series.
Wrexham. I'm a Leeds United fan, so I understand the promotion relegation game.
Yeah, you got a lot of work to do. So it's just that. And then that becomes embedded into the fan.
And it becomes the more passionate of a fan.
Passionate. Yeah, it brings a bit of a culture about. Just first division becomes more exciting, if you want to call it first division. Your crowds will come. There's a lot of those clubs in Sydney that I used to play against, and they said, we don't want to have the ethnic background, but I'm just like, just let it be. They created the game in Australia, so
like Sydney United 58, they're a massive Croatian club.
Yeah, massive. So, if they tick all the boxes in terms of lighting and things like that, then, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. And obviously, towards the end of your career, you've finished up playing in Newcastle area, in Lambton, and for Newcastle Olympic. What was it like getting back to, for lack of a better term, the grassroots, like Northern New South Wales NPL sort of stuff?
Yeah, it was good. It was good fun. I didn't want to do it. Joel was playing for the Jaffas there at Lambton, and I'm good friends with the owner, or the guy that runs the club, Chris Sneddon, and they kind of like, they didn't put pressure on me, but it was like a lot of nudging, come on. And I went back and I ended up putting the boots back on, and it was really fun. So yeah, I'm glad that I did it. And then over at Olympic, I actually went back and played over 35s with some buddies.
Okay, yep.
So we played over 35s on a Friday night, super slow pace, but beers half time and beers after the game.
Yeah,
So it was that
nice.
type of environment. So that was good
Exactly
fun.
what you needed, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it was. Like, it was just a lot of fun and good socially. And then Joel decided to be the head coach for Olympic,
Yeah.
Newcastle Olympic, and said, "Do you want to be the assistant coach?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll
What
do
was that
that."
like?
So what was it like? Oh, it was
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, well, I started coaching and
Yep.
helping players and doing all of that, and we were just short a few players.
Okay.
So I put on my boots for training, and then Joel's just like, "You can play," and I was just like, "Yeah, I can. This is interesting." Like
Yep.
39 years old or whatever,
Yep.
and put him on, and then I said, "You can play," and he goes, "Yeah, I can." So we both put our boots on.
Yep. So you're
We were
literal
playing.
captain coach and like captain coaching type thing and assistant coach playing sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Wow.
but it was really good. I really enjoyed coaching. I like helping players obviously improve and just throwing a bit of knowledge that I've learned over the years onto them. And some of them listen, some don't. It's pretty interesting. But I think that's part of coaching is you've got
Yeah.
to learn how to get attention and how to be as a coach. But yeah, then I just got too busy with outside of football stuff,
Yep.
work and things like that. So I just decided to give that a break.
No, that's fair enough, and we'll get into that topic in a little bit. But for now, we're up to the quick fire questions. First of all, obviously, because Geek Media, this will be interesting to hear your thoughts. Apple or Android?
Apple.
Yes, absolutely. But for me, I'm Apple devices like phone and tablets, but
Yep.
computer, I prefer Windows.
Same,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So Apple when it comes to phone products. What's your favorite food? Because we will touch on it that you are a plant-based or you could say vegan. We'll
Yep.
touch on that shortly. But yeah, so what's your favorite food?
We just eat leaves. Like
Yep.
we don't eat anything.
Isn't it lawn trimmings?
Yeah, everyone just thinks that I eat leaves, so probably leaves.
Yep. With a little bit of bark for a bit of spice and flavor. What's your
Yeah.
favorite movie of all time?
Movie. Lock, Stock, and
And
Snatch.
oh yeah,
Both,
Lock,
both.
Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. You mean?
That's the one. Yep.
Good film with a former
Great.
Leeds player, obviously, Vinnie Jones.
Yeah. Vinnie Jones was in there. I
He
actually
was
didn't like watching him play. He was a bit of a psycho, wasn't
he
he?
was a bit honestly. He was yeah. He's a better actor than he
He's
is
a,
a
he's a, he's a good actor. But
yeah
yeah, those movies are great. They were the first of their time, and
yeah.
I think a
They
lot of people try to copy it after that.
they did, but they couldn't replicate those two films at all. What's your
Snatch
favorite
is
music of all time, or like what sort of music do you like listening to?
heavier side of rock. So Rage Against the Machine.
Yep.
Um, I like Phoenix and bands like that. Just went and watched Smashing Pumpkins
Yeah, nice. How's
on
that?
Saturday night. That was awesome.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, big music. 90s, early 2000s, heavier rock. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. What's your word vomit? If you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh wow. Um, this is this is on the spot, isn't it?
It
I've
isn't it?
never
This
even
one, yeah.
thought about this. Just probably that pill without taking the pill.
Yep.
What's that called? Where he's just like sees everything. He's hyper focused and can
Yeah,
concentrate
I know
really
the one you're
well.
talking about. Yep.
Probably that, just to say hyper focused without getting brain fog and tired. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
that would be great.
Yeah.
So obviously we've covered your time as assistant coach because that was my next topic. So, towards the end of your career, well, not towards the end, you said you ended up getting 8 years out of your body from changing to a plant-based diet. What was first of all the decision behind that? And obviously you're still plant-based, so how is that going for you now? And did you struggle with changing your diet at the start and also when transitioning into retirement?
Yeah, so I did it because when I was playing for Sarawak,
Mm-hmm.
I was just getting really sore and tired, lethargic, and actually didn't know what it was.
Yep.
Just getting so many little niggling injuries. I would have been about 32.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, this is just getting old. Like, this is just normal. This is why people retire. And then I just started looking at some research, like Kelly Slater. I think at that time, Nate Diaz just absolutely destroyed Conor McGregor. And then there was all these memes like him going, he swears obviously, but it was like
Yeah.
plant-based mother,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
Nate Diaz speaks. And I was just like, what? He's plant-based. He's vegan. He cops so much crap for being vegan. And he's
And
just
yet he's
like,
like one of the
I'm
best
the
UFC
hardest.
fighters.
I'm the hardest in here. Like,
Yeah, I'm the
what's
hardest
up?
vegan ever.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, there's a few really respected people that I like. As sprinters back in the day, I think Carl Lewis, all of these people, and I started doing research, watching films, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll do this, I'll eat this, and I got really defensive in the beginning.
Mm.
I was like, no, I've got to eat meat. It was just so ingrained in me.
Yep.
I've got to eat meat, got to do this, got to do that, and the biggest thing for me, like cutting out dairy out of my diet,
Yep.
really helped me a lot. I noticed I could breathe so much better and things like that. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. So how's it going now? Really good. Just continuously doing that. I was actually close to buying a website that was all about cooking and recipes and things like that for vegans. But I don't really like the word vegan. I think it's like you're in a box.
Yeah, it's a bit, yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean,
Plant-based is honestly a lot better, by the way. I like how
it's a
that
lot
sounds.
easier. Yeah, plant-based is easier. However, I do respect a lot of the other things that I think people go over the top with. So it's one of those things where you get represented the wrong way.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
some people
gotcha.
just
Like the minority of the people that are plant-based are the ones that make plant-based people look bad, sort of thing.
exactly think about it this way. It's like whenever something in soccer, football,
Yep.
happens that's like slightly derogatory,
Example,
it's
that
all over the
bashing of the
media.
ref the other night.
Yeah. So it's all over the media.
Yep.
Everything's all over the media. However, they don't see the amazing like crowds,
Community stuff.
the
Yep.
atmosphere, the beautiful game. They don't
Exactly.
see all of that. So that's how it kind of feels.
That's a
bit of a minority.
Now that's a really good analysis, and a really, given that we're talking about your career in football, kind of seamlessly makes that fit the narrative, which is amazing. My final two questions are obviously your transition into retirement. There was anyone who wants to find out about in depth. I'll post a link to an article that was written about you back end of last year, the year before, because you did struggle going from transitioning from football into everyday work life, but you have found your niche, your passion, which is digital marketing, web design with Geek Media. How did that come about after retirement?
For the record, I'm full time with Tank World.
Yep.
So I'm doing that now.
Okay.
Geek Media, however, how it came about was I became a financial planner. So I started studying when I was playing in Hong Kong.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, it's starting to wind up now, and I don't really want to stay over here just to play football. I would like to go back home. Kids are getting older, all of that stuff. So started to learn financial planning and did all the exams and business. So I did a business diploma as well. So just started to try and get my head around things and see if I liked anything. And then when I came back to Australia, I started working with a company, financial planning company.
Yep.
And no disrespect, but it was really boring. I like to see myself as more of a creative person.
Yep.
And the owner said, hey, can you please find someone to build me a new website? I want this. And I said, oh, I know how to do that. And he was just like, okay, cool. So go ahead and give it a crack. And I was like, okay, cool. Then I saw there was all these so I saw there was all these new platforms out there because I used to learn from scratch, how to code up a website.
Yeah, wow.
So I learned that when I would have been 20 at Newcastle.
Yep.
I was I was a massive nerd. That's what I am. So I like to figure things out, figured out how to code, build a website. Then fast forward to there, I was like, oh, it's on WordPress. Okay, let's have a look at WordPress. And I was just like, bang, bang, bang. My eyes were bleeding, built the website, sent it to him, and he said, oh, wow, this is amazing.
Yep.
How much can I pay you? And he told me the price, and I said, just give me half of that. And then that's when a light bulb just, it's like, oh, cool, I can build websites. So I started,
and I can get paid to do it.
Get paid to do it. And then I started doing that and Then I actually got scouted, if you want to use the football term, to a digital agency up here in Newcastle. And I worked there for a few years just to like upskill and learn my, trade.
Hone the craft sort of thing.
Yeah. And it was really good. Learn how to work under pressure. But yeah, the transition, going back to what you said, the transition is very, very tough for an athlete. It's hard to explain, but you only have a period of a few years where you actually earn good money, unless you're probably the top 2%.
Like Erling Haaland in Premier League sort of thing.
Yeah. So like there's a period where you earn nothing, and then you earn okay money, then you earn good money, I guess, to your ability money. Then it just goes down, and then the tap's just turned off as soon as you retire. And a lot of people don't have jobs to go into straight away. Myself, I could have gone into coaching and grinded or done some, commentary and things like that. But I really wanted to do something that was completely different to football. So then I actually had another skill set rather than just rely on football. And I do see a lot of people really just grinding away at the football thing. Because they have to, and they're and that's what I wanted to get away from. Not that I don't love it, I love it, but I love being a fan and watching it more.
Exactly. You want to be able to go to the football and, as you said, watch it from the fans' point of view. Yeah,
exactly. So that's what I am now, just a massive fanboy. And transition's very hard. Finally, probably 2-3 years later, I started to see a bit of daylight. And
no, that's awesome.
How Geek Media came about, started my own business.
Yeah, nice. So I've got 2 final questions. First of all, what English Premier League team did you follow growing up?
Liverpool.
Liverpool, okay.
Yep.
Everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people tend to have Liverpool because they're an immensely successful club.
Craig Johnson was Australian. And I used to watch him religiously. We had the VHS. We just put it in. My dad was a fan. So just watching them play, I think it helped me a lot, to be honest. Just watching.
Well, he lives in Newcastle, so you never know.
Yeah, I've met him a few times up here. Yeah, it's it's hard not to talk to him about football. But
it'd be honestly, it'd be like, it'd literally be like talking to a professional footballer and not talking about football. It'd be so bloody hard. My final question is what's next for Ryan Griffith? Sorry, Griffiths. My bad.
What's next?
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I'm happy. I'm really happy. Actually, happy where I am. Which it's really surprising to say that because I always want more. I think that's just part of my nature. But actually, really, really happy with where I am at the moment. I would like to. I've got a few things up my sleeve. I would really like to help players do the transition. It's funny that you mentioned that. I actually had a plan when I retired to help people. That's why I became a financial planner.
Okay.
So, just slap a few people and say, don't buy that car, you don't need it.
Yeah.
Or, do this. Then when you retire, you can buy whatever car you want.
Yeah.
So
gotcha.
It'd be really, really good. Also, just giving them an education that's practical. A lot of the education these days, I mean, not these days, there's a lot of things out there, but the traditional way of going to university and, like I did all that study and it was great, but I'm thinking to myself, I did that study to become a financial planner to then just do this.
Yeah.
So there was like so much more that you needed to do. And I think a lot of players, they do, diplomas or bachelors.
Yep.
And it's very hard when you're at that age to start again. You're starting again.
Yeah, you
so
really
it's
are.
Basically, like you're coming out of high school. And
literally, because you've gone from high school to professional sport and then from professional sport to regular life.
Exactly. So unless you're, the top 2% of people that...
and you can retire then and there with money.
Yeah, exactly. Harry Kuehl or someone like that can probably get an ambassador's role, or Michael Bridges who gets a Leeds ambassador's role. Like we don't have that here.
No.
Unless you play NRL or AFL.
Or AFL, yeah.
Yeah, so I know a few of the Knights boys that I used to, hang out with. They've got ambassador roles. And I'm like, how lucky are you?
Yeah, right.
so they got something, whereas soccer players, unfortunately, at this stage, we don't. So that's what I'd really like to do: help them have a plan, and help them grow, I guess, outside of football.
That's awesome. I'm going to click and stop